everyone. I'm truly excited today. I have got a very inspiring lady with me. She is the co-founder of House of Misu. She is a content creator, a TEDx speaker, winner of 4 luxury Cosmo Influencer Awards, and also the Harper's Bazaar Women of the Year awardee. So she's doing so many things and she's achieved so much, and she's truly a fashion icon and the OG fashion icon, I would say.
Oh,
So
wow.
I'm truly glad, Mitali, we're doing this chat. Your journey has been truly inspiring. And to begin with, Mitali, I wanted to ask a little bit about your early life and how did you get into founding House of Mizo? A little bit on that as well. So over to you.
So it's a really funny story because so Sumaya and I went to school together, and we actually have our version of a school yearbook when we were 14 years old, where we've written that, Sumaya and I will do something in fashion together. We'll start a fashion brand together, and we'll live in a big house together, and we'll have dogs and cats, and, basically everything we ever dreamed of. And I think we're like pretty much most of the way there. We don't live together. I think our husbands would just throw themselves out the window. But yeah, we built a fashion brand together, and it's been a dream that we kind of unconsciously brought into existence without even realizing it. Because I didn't even know that book existed until someone from my school sent it to me.
Right.
Because after we graduated, Sumaya went on to do her thing, and I went off to university in the States. And we finally reconvened again once I graduated, and I was working in PR. And I saw that there was such a gaping void in our fashion landscape that needed filling. And already influencers and bloggers and things like this were happening in the West, but it hadn't begun yet in India. So we saw that need. I also followed Trini and Susanna very closely, and I loved what they were doing. So we created our own hybrid version where we were stylists, influencers. Instagram didn't exist back then. Facebook was just about burgeoning. But we had like our own little fashion label under House of Misu. We were styling a few celebrities, laymen. We were doing all of it
Okay.
basically, freshly 21, 22 years old. And that's how it all began, basically.
Okay. So, when you start anything, any label, there are a lot of obstacles and challenges. It's not always a smooth ride. So, what are the initial hiccups which you guys faced, when starting this business?
I think because it was kind of the wild, wild west when we started, it was brand new. There was no individual or entity sort of policing this industry. It was just whatever. Granted, there were very few of us, so it didn't need a lot of policing. But we were also kind of figuring it out as we went, and there were opportunities for people to take advantage. We were also super young, right? We were 22 when all of this began, and when it really started to take off, I think we were about 25. So I think the main pitfalls were for us just, having people take us seriously, really understanding what goes into it and what we do and how much we have to do, because you end up being editor, photographer, videographer, writer, everything. You're basically stylist, everything, right? So to have brands and agencies start to take us seriously and really see value in what we're doing, I think that was a challenge initially. And of course, like I said, there was no policing, right? So there were opportunities for people to take advantage of you, where you would commit to something, or you would give a piece of content or give a pitch, and say like, hey, this is my creative idea. Don't go out and use it until we sign on. And they would go out and use it
Okay.
without signing us on. So things like that. But I guess we all learn by doing and living through it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think for the main ones starting out.
Already you guys have had such a fab journey together, but I'm sure there are goals and targets, that y'all have set for yourself. So where do I see House of Mizu probably 10 years down the line? What are the things which you are still, wanting to achieve, which you
Oh, so much. So much. You gotta dream big, right? As they say, you gotta dream for the moon so you can fall in the stars. So for us, the house was always meant to be something that encompassed more than just Sumaya and me, right? Hence, it's the house. We've always wanted to add brands to it, add assets to it in whatever way or form. We've been working on a few ideas, some of which I can't really speak of. But yeah, it's we want to create something that outlives us. So it's something that I can pass down to my children. It's I don't want it to be representative of me and Sumaya after a certain point. I want it to be the house to hold the same values, the same aspirations, the same, attention to detail and finish,
Right.
but not just be dependent on me as a human or Sumaya as a human.
Okay. Also, I've been noticing, and I'm sure even you are, the fashion trends keep on changing, and especially with the Gen Z influencers coming in, and the way they are, using their content, to make
Yeah.
little difference, So you want to say something on that? According to you, how from that time to now the fashion trends have changed and, how it's evolving in our country?
So I think Gen Z is extremely powerful in terms of dictating what the trends are and in what direction the trends are going. They put a lot of value into like vintage now, pre-love, things that have a story. So I'm seeing that market really, really rising. They're preferring to go out and find that one-off piece than walk into a designer boutique and buy something from the new collection. You know, I also feel like there's a lot of customization that's happening. They want everything to be very personal to them.
Yeah,
A lot of individualization. So you're seeing a lot of charms, a lot of like, things hanging on handbags and on shoes and things. And I think that's good. Also, I feel like they're really calling brands to the table to have conversations about like sustainability and, just creating a more transparent transaction, which is so important. And I'm so happy that it's finally happening because I feel like so many of us in the industry and so many of us as even consumers have been screaming into a void. But now Gen Z is just screaming really loud.
yeah,
So, and because they're such a powerful,
yeah,
entity, they 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 literally are funding our fashion industry. So people have to listen. So
right.
I think that's a really good thing. So yeah, definitely. I think they're huge trendsetters. And of course, they're calling Y2K back and they're making
Yeah,
everything casual and they're doing really cool things. I
yeah,
don't relate to everything, but I see it. I see it.
right. There's always two sides to a coin, so there are pros and cons in everything. So I would say would you like to share something on the pros and cons of social media in today's day and age?
Oh, definitely. I feel like, someone who earns their bread and butter off of social media, it's definitely an important tool for our economy, for marketing, for in so many ways, for even just putting out a message and creating a community. But it can also go really astray, especially when there's so many impressionable people who are on these platforms. There's a lot of very varnished lifestyles that you see. And for the youth who are still naive and who are still figuring life out,
Yeah,
it can be extremely detrimental to their mental health.
right,
So, if everyone looks at this content with a grain of salt and thinks, things are made to look a certain way to be engaging, to
right,
be visually, appreciated, then you don't have to feel bad about what you have. You don't need to, do this whole comparison with what's
right,
happening there and what's happening here. Look at everything, as if you're just looking at it for entertainment. You want information, even do that very wisely because there's a lot of misinformation out there as well. So yeah, I feel like we do need to be careful about what we expose our kids to. We don't want them to become desensitized. We don't want them to become insecure. We don't want them to become consumer obsessed, like consumption obsessed.
right.
So there are definitely pitfalls. So I guess you have to take the good with the bad, but just be wise about the way you're going about using these platforms.
Yeah, what you said is also totally correct. It's very important to be responsible, even though it's a free world, you
Yeah.
have to be really responsible how you use whatever platforms you're using, to build your content. So, truly agree with
Correct.
what you're
And
saying.
clickbait is such an issue, right? Look at so many of
Right,
our celebrities now because everyone wants their 15 minutes of fame.
right.
They'll do anything for clickbait content,
Yeah,
anything, not realizing that there's so many impressionable people out there who are looking at this content
yeah,
and who will start to sort of emanate and mimic you.
yeah,
And that may not work out for them in their lives and their situations.
true. Also, when we talk about women empowerment, today, so, how does your social media platform, help them empower, when it comes to women empowerment?
So, I wouldn't say there's any specific incident that I could really draw upon, but just being able to have a voice, to be out there doing something that you feel passionate about, coming and being able to and being accepted at the table with all the who's. I think that's huge, and I think that gives a lot of young women who may want to do what we do and who are starting out, because we started out really young as well, for them to look at that and think like, hey, there can be a seat for me at the table as well, as a woman, as a as not even necessarily a woman, whoever you are, a they,
Yeah.
a she, a he, whatever, just that there can be a seat for you at the table if you just stick to it and you keep doing what you're doing.
Right.
And for us, meaning we are a little more conservative in general, like we don't show a lot of skin, we don't do a lot of clickbaity stuff. So to be that kind of influencer out there saying that, hey, you can be successful, you don't need to just try to grab attention for good or for bad, do what you're passionate about, put real stuff out there, put hard work into it, have create a real community, and then you will be loved and you will be accepted.
Right.
So I think that is very empowering.
Okay. Also, a lot of people, especially the youth of today, they want to get into being a content creator. What are the kind of attributes one must have? What is the kind of message you'd like to give them who are starting out, fresh, who have no knowledge basically, and they're not so savvy, also probably tech savvy. So, what is that kind of message you'd like to give those people?
So you might find this really hilarious, but I am not very tech savvy.
Okay.
So I don't, what I'm trying to say is you don't need to be super tech savvy to
Right.
do what we do. It would help, of course, because there are a lot of apps and tools, and AI systems out there that can
Right.
really make your life much easier. Because when we started out, we didn't have any of this.
Right.
So there's a lot that can help, but there's also a lot of noise out there. There's a lot of competition out there, which
Yeah.
again, we didn't have.
Right.
So we had beginner's advantage. We weren't fighting tooth and nail, which
Yeah.
is what's happening now with a lot of the new influencers. So I get it. But what I would say is don't just chase virality, look for authenticity.
Yeah.
Or even if you see something that's gone viral and you like the concept and you feel like it's something that speaks to you,
Right.
find a way to authentically, you know, put it into your own life and create a piece of content.
Mhm.
I also feel like a lot of new influencers try to do really quick, easy content because they think that's what it is, and they don't really pay any attention to quality.
Yeah.
I think for longevity, quality is important. Everything doesn't have to be the highest quality, of course, because it is difficult sometimes and it can be, costly as well. But try to maintain a certain level of quality and then you can go a little up and down from it. But there should be like, one barrier that you don't completely lose sight of. And I think a third thing would be just be thick-skinned. It's not the easiest industry to be in, especially now
Yeah.
with the crowd that there is in it. Be a little thick-skinned, be patient. Don't try to take shortcuts because, again, that'll affect your longevity and that could come to bite you in the butt,
Yeah.
later in life.
Yeah, and also I think you have to be more relatable, with your audience. It's
Yeah,
very important to be very
yeah,
relatable with your audience, what kind of content you're
correct.
putting out there. So truly well
Yeah.
said, Mitali. So now it comes to a fun rapid fire round. This is a favorite section,
Oh,
just to know you more personally. So
okay.
these are going to be quick answers from your side. So
Mhm.
what is your all-time favorite holiday destination where you go to unwind?
Wow. Okay. So I lived in Italy for a little bit. I studied there for 4 months, and I think I left my heart there somewhere. If anyone finds it, please send it back. I love Italy, and I have recently really become obsessed. We all have, my son, my husband, with Thailand. We
Okay.
love, love, love Thailand.
Okay.
So yeah, I think these would be my two favorites at
Okay.
this moment.
Three quick fashion tips from your side.
Don't try to just be trendy. Be chic, I would say. Find a way to be chic, incorporate a trend again if it speaks to you, but be chic because when you're chic, you're comfortable and everyone looks at you and thinks like that chick knows fashion.
Right.
Always have basics in your wardrobe. You can build up and down from that. And I would say less is more in terms of your purchases. Buy more quality, less quantity.
Okay. If you had to style anyone in the world, a Hollywood celebrity, a Bollywood celebrity, who would your perfect muse be? style.
So when you say this, you say, who would you want to style? I can only think of the people who are horribly dressed and I want to fix. But I'm
Okay.
not going to name names. Um, I think I think I would love to take a crack at Deepika because she's just such a, like, just her whole form. She's
Right,
so, like, arabesque and, like, I don't know, like this beautiful Greek goddess. So I would love
right.
to, like, put stuff on her, like that. I think that's how I see it.
Okay.
Like, play doll dress up.
And who's that one person who you admire, in terms of who's got a very good fashion sense?
Oh, there's so many. I do think Sonam does a great job. I think she comes off as very effortless, and as I've mentioned before, I think effortless is very important to me. I also I don't always love what Alia does, but I love the casualness of her.
Right,
I love that she can go to a Gucci show wearing like whole jeans and just talk about it with this like casual, very like I'm just so happy in my skin energy. I really appreciate that. And she's so pretty. Like
right.
you don't have to do much to her really. So I like the effortlessness of her. And of course, like for someone who's been in the industry forever, I feel like someone like Rekha, she's so elegant,
Right.
you know. She always walks into the room looking perfect.
I think
So
she's like
yeah,
an all-timer, I don't think she
yeah,
ages. She doesn't age.
she doesn't. I don't know. I want a sip of whatever that woman's drinking
Right.
because damn, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
she's got the secret.
What is that your favorite cuisine, and what is according to you,
Ah,
you make really well?
so that's easy. My favorite food to eat is Asian food. I know that's a wide girth, but it's like Thai food, Chinese food, favorite. Can live on it forever. And I love to cook a lot of things. I think one of my favorite things to do is bread. Um, if you followed me during COVID, you would know that I had a sourdough starter and we gave it a Viking name, which I can't remember right now, but because we were watching Vikings and he was my first child, my
Right.
sourdough starter. So I really enjoy the entire process of bread. But yeah, I love to cook. Like we're a family of cooks. My dad, my brother, my mom, we all love to cook.
If you were given any superpower for a day, what would it be? What would you use it for and why?
Ooh, mind control. If I could control minds, damn, this world would be fixed.
Right.
So yeah, I think mind control is a good one.
Okay. Your favorite genre of music, which probably soothes you down on a stressful day.
I love old classical music, but when I say classical, I'm not talking about like Mozart and Beethoven. I'm
Right.
talking about like I think who do I like Andrea Bocelli
Right.
or okay, Josh Groban isn't old, but he's more on that classical style. James Blunt, that kind of vibe,
Okay.
basically. Very like gets into your soul.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Also, according to you, the one difference between the millennials and Gen Zs of today.
We're tired a lot.
Okay.
We wake up tired. I don't know where these Gen Zs get their energy from, but like I don't remember being that energetic when I was
Right.
that age. So yeah, I feel like so one thing which might not be the a positive, I feel like Gen Zs want like immediate action. They want to see I can't get the word right now, but they don't have patience.
Right.
I feel like millennials, we're still patient. We'll go through the motions. We have our end goal and we'll be like trudge, 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 reach. Gen Z kind of wants to leap from here and reach there.
Right.
So I feel like they want that instant gratification, which is very different from millennials. Um, and yeah, of course, like I feel like they're doing a lot. They have a loud voice. They're using their voice really well, which is fantastic.
Right.
They're calling people out, which is great. They're a movement essentially, and the world is taking notice. So
Right.
I think that's a big difference.
And my last final rapid fire question would be, what is that one motto which you stand by?
Hmm. You do you, boo.
Okay.
I feel like, people have so many opinions, especially when, well, fortunately, we don't have a lot of haters on social media, but I see it happen a lot where people tend to feel like they have a say in what you do or how you live your life just because you're on a public platform. Um, In which case, when someone has a big opinion, I'm just like, you do you, I'll do me. It's all good. We don't have to have so many opinions or feel like we're invested in someone else's journey to the degree where we're getting worked up.
Right.
So yeah, I think that's a good one.
Great. So that comes to an end of the rapid fire round and the episode. Thank you so much, Mitali. It was so wonderful chatting
My
with you
pleasure.
and wishing you all the very best. Keep shining, keep smiling, and all the best for all your future endeavors. So,
Thank you. You
and hope to
too.
see you on the other side soon and
Definitely.
wishing you all the best. Thanks again for doing this podcast. And I'm
It
sure
was my
all the
pleasure.
viewers watching us today, they will be truly inspired with your journey. So, once again, kudos to you and Sumaya both. And yeah, see you soon.
Thank you. Take care.